Hello and welcome to a new episode of Thinking Out Loud. My name is Riyaaz Safi. Please show some love by subscribing to the podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode when it's posted. He spent 3 weeks in Sun City prison, but his commitment to fighting for a cause he believes in is unwavering. Today I'm most privileged to be catching up with Sandile, a student activist who continues to fight for student debt relief. Hi Sandile and welcome to Thinking Out Loud.
Thank you, Mr. Riyaaz, for having me. Much appreciated.
It certainly is a pleasure. Now, I'm quite interested. I read the story about you and how you managed to complete your studies, and I found it to be most inspirational and positive. For the benefit of those listening to us, tell us, who is Sandile?
Sandile Mdlongwa is currently a master's student at the University of Johannesburg. So he's majoring in politics and international relations. I am also an author of at least 2 published books, The Stuff of Legends and the other one of I Was Taught. I am a life coach and I'm a mentor to many. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a novelist. I'm a playwright. I'm a writer, basically. I'm also a motivational speaker, to the youth and also for men. I'm also an activist, for free decolonized education. So
Yes.
that is basically who I am.
Tell us a bit more about your story in terms of when you were a student and trying to complete your studies. There was this amazing and inspirational story that I came across. If you'd like to share that with us, I'd be most delighted.
Oh yes, one of the most important things that I usually tell to people who are listening to the content that I share on social media and also in direct contact is that you need to be very organized and well disciplined, And when you do a job or when you do something, you have to do it professionally so. And number 2, you also have to do it diligently, So this is a seed that was planted in me by my grandmother when I was young. So she taught me to be well organized at an early age. So I was this committed individual and it manifested itself. And, if you sow, of course, you will reap. And I produced good results. When I completed my matric or when I graduated in high school. And I wanted to go to university. So this is what I did. I thought, okay, fine. I am coming from a humble background where I do not have money for registration and also money to pay for my tuition fees as well. So what I did is, in as much as I applied for bursary, what I did is I also did door-to-door. Engaging community to say that, look, I am a child of the community. I was raised by the community. Therefore, I am looking for help from the community. And I promise one day I will come back to the community and give back to the community. And I will plant back to the community. I will come with good results, not only for me, but also for the community. So that is the spirit that I was carrying, when I was doing door-to-door. And then I came across with a man by the name of Ibrahim Mohammed. He's a pharmacist. He graduated from Rhodes University. So I was in Aberdeen. And I engaged him and I told him my story passionately so. I told him that I want to go to school. I believe that the future is very bright. And I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to go for it. And I want to make it one day. I want to inspire not only others, but also myself as well. I want to look at myself in the mirror to say that you are an inspiration. I need your help. Money cannot be something that can stop this great idea engulfed in me that I have. I need your assistance. And my results can speak for me as well, Because I used to do very well in high school. I used to be one of those active students. I was a public speaker. I was a motivational speaker. I was a poet. I used to recite poems. I used to win trophies for my school. I remember at some point I went to Robben Island in 2011. When I wrote an essay that came out first position in Gauteng, and then I was given this scholarship, or sponsorship to go to Robben Island, to see where Nelson Mandela was arrested and other leaders like Robert Sobukwe, and Harry Gwala. So I was there for 1 week. So I used to be very active. I had a story to tell. At some point in 2012, I had breakfast with our former President Jacob Zuma, because I acquired position number 2, in debate, so I won a lot of trophies for my school. So this is the story that I carry and share with Mohammed, and say, this is the story that I have, and I have a dream. I'm a committed individual. Just at least invest in me, and you are not going to disappoint, and you're not going to disappoint yourself, and I'm not going to disappoint you. And it turns out that he was very right, and I have always carried that positive attitude. He assisted me, and then I found myself in university. Initially, he was an individual who had to pay for my fees as well, not only for my registration. He covered for my registration, but now in university, if you do very well, universities have a tendency, of taking care of their own students, because it's an investment. They know that tomorrow you will have to come back, or it will come back to them to say, oh, look at the student. He's our product. Look at the student, he's our product. They are actually really proud of their alumni, So I did very well academically in university, to the extent that most of my funding came actually from the University of Johannesburg, But now, you're a student, and there are other things that bursaries cannot cover. You need to travel, you need to meet with other students, you need to engage with society, you need to go to seminars, you need to go to other universities, all those logistics and other necessities. So this is where Mohammed continuously came in to say that, look, I'm going to give you an allowance, monthly allowance, to take care or to cover for those necessities and logistics as well, and he did that consistently. There were times when I would run out of food and I would want something to eat. He was there for me, and he never tired. He never ran tired. He took care of me, until I completed not only my first degree, my BA degree, but also my second qualification, which is honors in politics and international relations. I mean, he ensured that I get further assistance until I reach even master's. So today, I'm a master's student as well.
Amazing story indeed, and there's lots for us to learn as South Africans. What's the one lesson that you've learned from your story itself that you'd like to share with people listening to say, this is what I think we should all do to help society move forward?
One lesson that I have learned, my good brother, I think this is very, very, very important. You need to be selfless. You need to be selfless. You don't have to think for yourself only. And it's quite amazing, if you can engage a book titled The 12 Laws of Karma. Karma is not a loose concept of revenge, if I have to put it blank. It means that whatever that you put in society, or even in you, or in this world, comes back to you one way or another. You'll be surprised that the more you assist people, the more you actually assist yourself, Riyaaz.
Of course, yes, and I think, especially in the South African context, we all have that opportunity in whatever way we can assist. I think we should, because as Nelson Mandela said, education is the most important thing for South Africa as a nation. If I were to ask you, why would you say education is important, and it's something that's every person within the South African context that is liable to be educated should basically go and educate themselves. Why would you say education is very important?
Education is very pivotal, my good friend. It is education that has uprooted me from poverty and dejection and misery. Education is very important. It's not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone must be educated. You must be educated, you see, because I would like to quote The Alchemist, by Paulo Coelho. There's a book, an interesting book written by Paulo Coelho, that we all have our personal legend. So he speaks about this concept. The book is around this concept of personal legend. I did some self-introspection and more research to say that you are not in this world by mistake. You are here because you have got a purpose. What Paulo Coelho referred to as the concept of personal legend. So for you to be able to further that personal legend, you need education. You need to be educated. Not only formal education through institutions, but you need to take a book and read. I want to make a practical example how education actually helps you. I discovered my personal legend at an early age, Riyaaz, that I'm actually a writer. I'm a gifted individual. I mean, if you can go on Facebook, things that I post content that actually reaches out to people. You will find that I've got 5,000 shares, 2,000 likes on people because I'm a gifted author. You understand? But now, gift alone is not enough. So for me to be able to construct, meaningful sentences, effective wording, I had to go through a lot of literature. You understand? I had to read. I had to educate myself. I had to see how other authors are writing, how it's done. Something that one can call a template. You understand? And you have to read, because another thing that is important with reading areas is that most of the leaders, are writing a biography, and there's a reason for that. Or most of the people are writing something, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that in most cases, we tend to misunderstand people. But now if they write, we're able to get into their web and be able to understand how do they reason, how do they feel, how do they act, So this is the concept that is around post-positivism.
Now, what do you tell? I totally agree with what you're saying, but what do you tell the youth who are unemployed in this country? Some of them have degrees, and the unemployment rate, especially amongst the youth, is quite high. I think the latest statistics show is like 33% or so. I stand to be corrected with that number, but yeah. How do you motivate people when they know at the end of it, there's not much for them in terms of getting a job?
You see, Mr. Riyaaz, this is a problem, not only in South Africa, but in Southern Hemisphere. We're still new, of course, into our democracy. And now we have a tendency of electing lazy people. Nothing irritates me like incompetence. So my advice to the youth or young people is that, especially the graduates, is that the information that you've acquired, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. If you've got, you see, we live in a world whereby people who are talented and gifted and capable, people who are pragmatic are doubting themselves. And people who are less gifted, than you are actually making it outside and killing it because they just go all in. I saw that I was hungry and I didn't have food and I was expelled for a good cause. And now I was being seen as this person who just makes meaningless noise to society instead of doing something. I said, you know what? I'm going to write. And I just sold you a copy. I'm yet to send you as well. I invested in myself to say that, you know what? I'm going to use what I have and create, opportunities I receive orders for PDF, orders for hard copies, and I sell them to society. It landed me a job, in university as a writer, something that I believe that I came here in this world to do. So invest in yourself.
Agree, 100%. You couldn't have put that better. So, once you've studied, make sure that you invest in yourself. You take those skills that you've learned and develop them further, and you will get to places. Now, besides being passionate about education, you've also been very passionate, and as you said earlier, you are an activist, and you've been fighting for getting student debt written off. Now, student debt in South Africa is estimated, from the numbers I've seen, to be about 14 billion rands. Will South Africa ever be in a position to offer free education in an unequal society?
South Africa, I believe that actually the day when we have a tendency, Mr. Riyaaz, of electing hyena into office. And when ships disappear, then we wonder why. And we start crying. I can tell you, our country has a lot of money. We are sitting on budget. You see? For all public portfolios and institutions. Now the problem is corruption and nepotism. What I'm happy about now is that I've noticed a tendency now, or a trend, of young educated people becoming counselors. They're assuming these offices. Well, I'm not saying that if you are educated and you are elected into office, you're not going to do wrong. I mean, we've got a lot of educated people as well. South Africa will definitely be in a position whereby all that corruption is going to come to an end. And of course, I believe. So now, South Africa actually does afford free education, like to pump money into universities. And the students again took to the street this year to advocate for free education. And we must continue, to advocate for free education until we reach that level whereby you are not excluded because of money.
So you should be the only reason that you've been excluded and not university fees, etc. Makes sense, but like you said, you've been an activist for a number of years, and you even went to prison, as we spoke about earlier. What was it like when you went through that traumatic period, and how did you deal with it with a positive mindset?
What I love about life, as my principal from high school says, is that life teaches, my good friend. Life actually teaches. I adapted and I survived. At first, it was very difficult for me because I suffered from social exclusion. I was very confused. I mean, the very same people that I was fighting for were now laughing at me. I was a laughing stock. I was being mocked, So, you know what? And I'm thinking, I had sponsors, when I was in university. I had Mohammed on my side. I had Bazaar as well on my side. But now I sacrifice that to say, you know what? When I graduate, I'm not going to graduate alone. When I went to prison in Sun City, that is one of the most traumatic, longest, although short, journey or distance
Yeah.
From Auckland Park to Sun City. But for me, it was very long because I was literally scared and I was very traumatized, my good friend.
Mm-hmm.
There I was, very young at that time. I was about 21 when I went to jail. I was very traumatized, and I was not about to be taken to a juvenile center because I was an adult. I get inside there and there are gangs around there, that culture of gangs of intimidating each other.
Yes.
You've got a certain group on the other corner singing their praising and praising their hero, and you've got the other group there, the 26 and the 28 and other many substructures that I never even saw. Then there I was, not belonging to any group because I am not a criminal and I'm not a gangster. And I was very scared, number one. Now, the second day, when we are allocated, to this cell inside there, still I was traumatized. But now they saw that I'm young, and I was reading a book, a biography that was written by, or that is written by Benjamin Pokrum, on Robert Kobuk. I was reading that book, so I was self-isolated, sitting alone and reading the book. And I read it, and I could not even sleep at night. I said, you know what, I'm just going to focus and try to read this in order for me to read of that fear, to get rid of that fear. But now one of them started asking me, why are you reading this book? And I was wearing differently, of course. I was wearing my Sigma Sport Rakale. And okay, obviously I stood up, Why are you reading this book? Tell me, what is the book about? Now I started explaining, his concepts and everything. I tell you, since after, it became one of the best days, I have ever had in my life. I mean, Sun City Prison. When I left, I was very sad. You would swear that I want to stay for more days. No, I'm telling you, Riyaaz, because one of the mistakes that we do as society is to prejudge people.
Yes.
And now that is when actually I discovered that most of the things that these scholars have argued, like Dr. John Henry Clark, when he argued in 1998 on the African Holocaust book in Christopher Columbus, he argues that most of these people who are arrested in jail, are arrested actually for the things that they did not do. Some of them started talking about Steve Biko there. Some of them started talking about Nelson Mandela, and other African heroes, and I was very inspired. And that is also, I included that in my book as well. It was very insightful. You'll be very surprised how prison actually makes you do things carefully in a diligent manner. So you will find that the way that they explain things to you is very different, and they break it down in a clear way that you are able to understand. Of course, they don't use big words, like students who went to school,
yes.
But they break it down and that is one of the most effective ways.
Coming back to the student debt and the government obviously refusing and saying that they don't have the funds, you saying they do have the funds. Do you ever think we will reach a stage where the both of you agree on a solution going forward?
Of course. Like, for instance, working at the University of Johannesburg has been a blessing as well. Because now you tend to see how things are done, it encourages that culture to read reports, to read magazines and articles and everything. I mean, there's one program, in the University of Johannesburg called Listen Media. And the university is also raising funds, and they have raised millions of funds as well to assist students, to cover student debt. Prior to Fees Must Fall in UK, that program was not there. After Fees Must Fall, that program came into picture. It means that it was an effect of the continuous engagement that we have had with the institution in order to find a common ground. To say, okay, we have to be realistic as well. I mean, you can't just wake up overnight and say you put free education. It doesn't work that way. It's a process. But in the meantime as well, please assist students, do something. We reached a common ground with the University of Johannesburg. So another thing that really inspires me, Mr. Riyaaz, is that the University of Johannesburg also took a decision to employ young people, into these prominent positions.
Yes.
So this is what the universities have been doing now. You see, we have reached a common ground to say, no, we want young people to lead. That is why I'm so positive. That at some point in future, we're going to have a president who's in his 20s. I tell you.
Yes, we need to.
At some point in future, we will have a president who's a minister as well, who has been considered as youth as well.
Certainly.
So these are the other positive things that we also acknowledge.
Look for.
Of the common ground that we have reached as well.
Now, Sandile, what's on a parting shot? What's the one quote or one thing that motivates you on a daily basis that you'd like to share with us?
Okay. There's this quote I got from Malcolm X.
Yes.
In his book, co-authored with Alex Hayes. Malcolm X says, if you want to be heard, you better make some noise. If you want to be heard, you have to make some noise. And it comes back to yourself as well. If you want to hear yourself, you have to make noise to yourself.
Yes.
I wake up morning, you think that I'm crazy. Yeah? I wake up morning, I make noise to myself. Like I literally speak to myself, literally have a whole conversation with myself. Sometimes I'm the president. Sometimes I'm the vice chancellor.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm a lecturer there. I'm lecturing students and I speak.
Yes.
And it motivates me always. Always it motivates me. And now, when I go into to public now, as self-motivated as I am, I don't only make noise to myself, but also make meaningful noise, not only to assist myself, but others as well.
Certainly. Because at the end of the day, I guess great sign of someone that's really intelligent as well, Sandile. So I won't think you crazy. I think you super intelligent. Thank you so much, Sandile Mdlongwa, for chatting to us right here on Thinking Out Loud. We really, really appreciate your time. And thank you for inspiring us and continue inspiring us.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Riyaaz, for taking your time and also to engage me. Hopefully we'll have a further future engagement. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for listening in to Thinking Out Loud. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. Until the next episode, bye for now.